Information is Fundamental by Alfred Joyce. Video Part 8. 4. Human Calibration. Self-awareness is a potent emergent characteristic, possibly the most advanced in the universe, and, as humans say, with great power comes great responsibility. We can use self-awareness to process information according to the fundamental nature of the universe directly and consciously. But to do so, we need to sharpen our information processing tools so that they better reflect the fundamental nature they are trying to convey/process. The atomic processing level is just a mechanism, and within that mechanism, certain information processes will be conducive to emergent characteristics and others won't. At the human level, there is also just a mechanism, albeit a more sophisticated one. However, similarly, certain processes will be conducive to emergent characteristics and others won't. That's the way information operates. Designated emergent reality base levels are useful demarcations for us because we get to see how a certain type of information processing leads to emergent characteristics, a resulting information process that then leads to the next level of a designated emergent reality base. What kind of information processing must we achieve to exhibit new characteristics and reach the next designated emergent reality base level? One answer is truthful information processing. Entities at other designated emergent reality base levels aren't confronted with the option of truthfulness and its counterpart, falsehood, because their information processing tools and processing capacities are calibrated to the one truth. There are no opportunities for conflicting meanings at their base levels of reality. There is one story for them being told by information, and it's being processed one way. Entities at the same designated emergent reality base level share the same processing mechanism. At face value, they share the same resulting processed information based on the fundamental principle of the universe, and thus they have one common processed information language/meaning to the system, one story. On the other hand, we humans are being told one story by information, we process it one way, we all share the same processing mechanism. However, we don't process it at face value. We don't share the same resulting processed information. Our individually calibrated information processing tool, self-awareness, is limited to the self, and thus our common processed information language/meaning to humanity, self-awareness, differs wildly in content, and in the end isn't common to all. We now understand that vocabulary is a tool attempting to establish one common language based on a common self-awareness. It's a tool specific to the designated emergent human reality base level. It's an attempt to establish a fundamental reality base for the human level, meaning a common base that all humans share. An example is the word apple. We don't share its informational processed experience, but we do share a similar subjective experience of it at our designated emergent reality base level. And based on the inferred similarity, we have determined the true meaning of what an apple is for all humans at our designated emergent reality base level. Because true meaning is an emergent characteristic at our designated reality base level, we get to determine what truth is, based on our processing capacity of information. How we've established our truths is based on our perception of information, and in general, we use shared resulting processed information as a determining factor. So when we say apple, since we all use the same processing mechanism, we infer we share the same resulting processed information, and thus we share a common processed information language / meaning to humanity. There are no conflicting stories when the story of apple is told. So, when we talk about an apple, we consider the processed grouping of information resulting in the perception of an apple to be apple's true meaning. An opposite example of truthful meaning is the word God. When we say God, although we all use the same processing mechanism, we don't share the same resulting processed information in regards to the word God, and thus we don't share a common processed information language / meaning to humanity, and there is no established true meaning of the word God, which has resulted in conflicting stories as to what God means / is. Interestingly, vocabulary needn't be true to the fundamental level it attempts to convey, which is why we are able to establish erroneous / false concepts. But it needs to be universally true to humans at our designated emergent reality base level for us to communicate. And we've managed to establish a useful universal base with our vocabulary, which is why we can communicate verbally so efficiently. But here's where we need to improve. In recognizing that our self-awareness is determinant of our information processing tools' efficiency and of the truths at our designated emergent reality base level. And so calibrating our self-awareness to the one truth would eliminate all erroneous / false concepts. So far, we haven't been able to have a common self-awareness experience. We all share our established true meaning of apple, but not the experience of it, although we're fairly confident that our experiences are fundamentally very similar. But because our own personal perceived groupings of information are so different and yet so similar, a particular apple might taste sweet to one person yet sour to another. So we see the difficulty in establishing a common self-awareness experience. However, vocabulary is a useful tool as a pseudo common process information language / meaning to humanity because each person can still have an understanding of the other person's experience based on their common truths of the words sweet and sour. So, if we can do this with an apple, couldn't we do this with the entire universe? Managing to establish a common truth about the apple has allowed us to process it universally at our designated emergent reality base level to the best of our current capacity. Instead of processing 0 equals 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals apple, now we skip the addition of grouping of information processing mechanism and go straight to apple. By doing so, we have become more efficient information processors for our designated emergent reality base level. And this is how humans learn, through experience, by establishing truths that are supported by the one truth. We accelerate our learning curve and enhance our processing capability at our designated emergent reality base level. As an example, if there were an established truth claiming that fire is likely to burn human flesh only 20% of the time it came in direct contact with a human, not only would there be more burned victims, we would also question the validity of that established truth and its human source, as well as question the nature of the universe. All this questioning we would be doing would be information processing capacity being used to reach an established truth at our designated emergent reality base level in accordance with the one truth. Our progress as humans is directly linked to our processing capacity being calibrated to the one truth. because ultimately, all paths lead to the one truth. So it's a matter of whether we get there consciously and efficiently or create falsehoods/detours along the way. The more erroneous/false established truths we have in our common process information language/meaning to humanity, the more time we will spend processing information just to overcome those errors/falsehoods until we reach an established truth that is calibrated to the one truth. Like with the red wine running through the veins premise, as we progressed, eventually it will be eliminated in favor of the blood running through the veins premise. Thus, it's important that our vocabulary be sharp, concise, and precisely understood, that our use of language be used to tell established truths that are in accordance with the fundamental principle of the universe, that our self-awareness be knowledgeable of the human processing mechanism and the fundamental information processing principle,